Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio podcast. This is your co-host Jay Cheema with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma, and the senior contributor Eric Burgess, aka Burg. Fellas, welcome in podcast 90. How are you?
What is up? Yo, we survived. We made it to week one. It was a great slate. It was incredible football. A lot of teams that you thought would have rolled didn't roll, and a lot of teams that you thought were just going to get blown out didn't. And what if I told you last week that the Raiders, Ravens game was going to be the game of the week? Would anybody fucking believe me?
No, dude. You know what? It's so great that we have football back here, and so many storylines to get into with this week, and that great ending to the week last week. Last night, I'm sorry, and I stayed up to watch this game. I wasn't planning on it, and I wasn't disappointed with the way that game ended.
Yeah, man, listen, I am so excited. We had fans back in the stands. It felt like a little bit of normalcy, man. Not to sound cliche, but God bless the NFL and God bless the fans, man.
No shit, man. Roger Goodell.
So awesome to watch.
Roger Goodell. Take a bow, you son of a bitch, you. Take a goddamn bow. I'm standing up. I'm saluting you, sir. Nobody could fucking stand you until COVID. Then you had to draft. You looked like you wanted a scotch in your couch. Now you get the fans back. Nominate that dude for sainthood.
Well, do you remember when COVID happened?
Jesus.
COVID happened like late March of last year. Puma, you sent out a tweet April 1st, and I screenshotted it because I was like, this is one of the dumbest tweets I've ever seen. And it was something along the lines of, there is no way in hell the NFL is going to be able to kick off like week one in September. Yep. And I was like, how can this dude say this far out? And I never give you shit about it, but listen, the NFL, they like making money, bro. All right? I mean, they're all about that money, so we're happy that they're that greedy because it benefits us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, listen, speaking of that Raiders game, that's going to be the first topic we're going to discuss today. We're going to break down the Las Vegas Raiders beating the Baltimore Ravens, 33-27, an absolute thriller. We'll start talking about how Burge has some delusional thoughts on the Finns beating the Patriots 17-16.
Here we go. All right.
We'll preview
the
2 minutes in the pod. Here we go.
We'll preview the Patriots and Jets match, and then we'll look forward to week 2 and some of the big marquee games, which include the New York Giants versus the Washington football team on Thursday Night Football, Buffalo Bills versus Miami, and who wins the Puma Bowl. That's what I've dubbed it. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Chargers, Kansas City versus the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football. And then we've got a new segment, the Best Bets with Puma, where he will try to help you guys win some money. And then finally, we're going to put this all and wrap it up in the Fantasy Bulls with Bird section. So we got a lot to cover, fellas. You guys want to jump right into the Raiders game last night? Because that was an absolute thriller, man. Like, we were all watching it, all tweeting about it, all, texting back and forth. And that game had so many emotions, so many swings. Like, as John Gruden said last night, he died, came back to life, died again. I mean, that's basically how we all felt as well. So I'll turn the floor over to you guys. What was your breakdown of that game?
Yeah, I mean, John Gruden ain't wrong. It was live, die, repeat. I mean, now I'm talking as the guy that had the Raiders +4 and then the over in the game. And, the game starts out. It's a full house. You got Al Davis's torch. Jay, your sister's texting me being like, I got my Darren Waller jersey. We're going to fucking win this game. You got Steve Aoki on the turntables. You got Bruce Buffer yelling, it's time! And all that, and let's be honest, all the way up to halftime, that game was flat, man. Like, it was kind of sloppy. Mm-hmm. There was bad play calling mostly on the Raiders side. There were head-scratching moments from John Gruden. There were head-scratching moments from Derek Carr. I'll say this much, though. That defense balled out for the Raiders. Like, Derek Carr was right. Like, they were buried. I kind of buried them last week on the pod when I was talking about them as a best bet. But I mean, Max Crosby is going to be a problem. And like the kid looked good out of Michigan. I think he was out of Michigan State. He was picked in the same draft class as Cleveland Farrell, who was a healthy scratch. He was inactive. Cleveland Farrell was the first round pick. Max Crosby was taken in the 4th round, but him and Carl Nassib, like, they kept that team into it. And, say what you want about Derek Carr, like all the way up to like that last final drive. Like, I mean, that final drive, he was masterful. He was on point. Darren Waller was all over the place. Granted, he only had eyes for Darren Waller, but they were able to pull off the win. But then, like, you look at the Baltimore side of the football, and it's just like the run was working at times, and then they started trying to get cute. They tried to make Lamar into like a passer and not just like taking what the defense was giving him. Lamar was careless with the football, putting it on the ground twice. One time cost him dearly and it ended in, you know, the loss of the game essentially. But I mean, there were times where like the Ravens just looked exhausted. Lamar looked gassed at times, and you know, going into this Chiefs game that we're going to talk about, there's a lot of questions. Like, Lamar couldn't get it done through the air against the 28th overall defense last year. You think you're going to go into Arrowhead and take care of business this week? I don't think so, man. So there's a lot. There's a lot more questions on the Baltimore side than on the Raiders side, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Chiefs traveled to Baltimore to play them
Oh,
on
my
Sunday
bad.
football. Yeah, but regardless, it doesn't change. I mean, it could be on, you know, it could be in Kansas City, it could be in Baltimore, it could be on Mars. It doesn't matter. The Chiefs are going to absolutely annihilate the Baltimore Ravens because, let's be real, 100%. Lamar Jackson still has not improved as a passer. I'm watching him last night, and the amount of like runs he's doing, and like he's just basically throwing himself into like 4 defensive linemen without any care for his body. I'm thinking, how can he possibly keep that up? And I wish we would have seen that next progression that we were waiting for last year from Lamar Jackson in regards to his passing ability. Now, the other end of the thing, man, like the Raiders, like John Gruden, like towards the end, I don't know what the hell he was doing there. He was trying to get his kicker out there. They couldn't find the kicker, so they had to like call timeout. And they went for it. And when they went for it, they threw that massive like bomb in that engagement to win the game. It was absolutely insane. But I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback, man. But like, I don't understand why he like locked eyes on Waller all night. There was like 19 targets for Waller, 10 were caught for 100 plus yards and a touchdown. But that's not going to get it done if you just constantly keep your eyes locked on Waller and don't, you know, look at the rest of the field. So we'll see how that progresses. But overall, man, entertaining game. Great way to kick off Monday Night Football, and it was absolutely great watching it with my sister and my brother, who were also going nuts, and I was giving her mad shit about it. But it was a fun time, man. It was a really fun time.
Yeah, like for me, like it just seemed like at the end of that game that both these teams were like playing to like lose. My conclusion at the end of this was that both these teams deserve to lose the game. Like, you're in overtime, you know, look at what the Raiders did that first drive, you know, they drive all the way down. Basically, we thought the game was over with Bryan Edwards catching a touchdown there at the end. They take a penalty and then a bad interception. And then right on cue, Lamar Jackson comes in and gives the game away. You know, with that fumble. That was a brutal fumble, and obviously you knew the game was over at that point with Las Vegas in field goal range. Jay, to your point about Derek Carr locking eyes on Darren Waller, I think Bryan Edwards, he was, you know, he's their number 2 receiver there. I don't think he had a reception until like late in the fourth quarter, and he ended up finishing with like four receptions for 81 yards. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to spread the ball around, and you know, eventually. And Darren Waller's a freak. He's, in my opinion, he's the second best tight end in the game right now behind Kelsey. Very, very, an argument can be made that he's the best. And you know, I don't count Kittle in there because of his durability concerns. But you know, if I'm picking a team, it's for me, it's Darren Waller. You have to spread the ball around. I mean, the Raiders' running game in this game was abysmal. You know, Josh Jacobs did have 2 touchdowns, but you know, 10 carries for 34 yards out of him, and then you know, Kenyon Drake.
Did he have turf toe? Was there some toe issue? Yeah. He was questionable with an illness, but they kept looking at his shoes.
That I'm not sure about. I hadn't seen anything about that, but like, regardless of that, the running game. I mean, the second leading rusher on the team for the Raiders was Marcus Mariota. Came in and had 1 rush for 31 yards. I mean, that's a big concern. You know, if you're a Raider fan. Going forward, but my biggest takeaway out of this is I think Lamar, and I'm sure you guys agree with this, Lamar Jackson's playing for his job and his next contract right now, and if I'm the Ravens, do I want to commit big money to Lamar Jackson? I mean, he hasn't shown he can effectively throw the ball. Yes, he's a freak athlete, but he seems in these big moments to just crap his pants. He did it last year in the playoffs, you know, up in Buffalo, and to my dismay. He throws that interception in the end zone, and you know, game's over at that point. What do you guys think about Lamar Jackson's future going forward here with Baltimore?
Jay, you go first.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point, man. Because like you do have to make a decision at the end of the year, right, on what you can do with Lamar Jackson going forward. Now, if he's not shown you that he can actually make those big key throws in those pressure pack situations, then why do you have him? Like at the end of the day, I know it's super hard to find a quarterback, but this is what year 4 going in. Like at this point, you should start to develop into a better passer. Like the thought process that give him more time and maybe he'll come around. No, absolutely not. I mean, if he's not going to do it now, then he's not going to do it the next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him very much end up like Cam Newton, 30 years old, out of the league. He's focusing so much on his running, and he's not focusing enough on his passing. I know we hit that over with a dead horse on Cam Newton going into this, and you kind of see a similar trajectory with him with Lamar.
Yeah, no, and I was just gonna make that comparison too, Burge. Like I'm with you. Like it's a good argument. It's logical, especially because despite what Lamar thinks, like people are going to figure you out. Like you can't just backyard football the position for your entire career. You are going to have to develop as a passer, and if that throwing the football and it being a little wobbly once you throw more than 10 yards down the field, that's going to be a problem, and you can't just keep throwing it to Mark Andrews. Granted, he did have a bit of a connection with Sammy Watkins at times, and Hollywood Brown had a really good 10-yard touchdown. That catch and that throw was incredible in itself. But in totality, when you look over the last 4 years, like you said, Burge, that back-breaking interception in the end zone. There were times when they would go up to Kansas City and they had the Chiefs on the ropes, but you couldn't get the job done through the air. I mean, I would say he's playing for his job. I wouldn't want to tie that much money into a quarterback that hasn't really proven that he can throw the football. But at the end of the day, we all know that if Steve Biscotti does not back the Brinks truck up to Lamar Jackson, you're going to have a riot at the M&T Bank Stadium. I mean, we all know, Trace McSorley looked good last year when he came in relief before he blew his knee out in the Cleveland Browns game, or the Poop Bowl, depending on what you look at, when Lamar had the cramps. But, I mean, there really isn't anyone else out there that's going to be like that dynamic playmaker. You just hope that somebody is able to develop him into a passer. And that's nothing against Greg Roman. He's a great offensive coordinator. But, we saw the same thing with Cap when he was the offensive coordinator for Colin Kaepernick. He didn't have the greatest arm. He had a good enough arm. He was able to get it down the field better than Lamar. But, he didn't really take a big step forward. Lamar has yet to take that big step forward. I don't know, man. I'm not saying maybe Greg Roman should be out, but call it bias, call it whatever. But if Jordan Palmer or someone else is able to be that quarterback coach, and we can all laugh, but the stats parse out. If somebody like a Jordan Palmer is able to adapt some of the throwing exercises and throwing motions to fit this kid's game, then you're going to be looking at a total quarterback moving forward in the era where you can run and gun, you can make throws off script, and you can throw darts and lasers.
Yeah, well, we all essentially were talking about how the Ravens did such a great job of tailoring the offense to Lamar Jackson, which is fine and great. But when you want to move off of him, how much harder does that make to essentially revert all of that, right? The people that you have on the offensive line and the tight ends all are geared towards making Lamar Jackson successful. Let's say you have a drop-back quarterback, will be able to succeed in that system, right? The one stat that really kind of, freaks me out is, postseason and regular season included, Lamar Jackson has about 520 carries. The next closest quarterback is Josh Allen with 308. 212 more carries. That is absolutely insane in such a short amount of time, which is 4 years in the league. And if he keeps getting those hits, man, especially the one hit he took last night where he fumbled the ball and then his head went right into the turf. I'm he's got to be concussed at that point, right? So if you keep subjecting your quarterback to that kind of punishment, eventually he will break down, right? We're watching the Patriots-Miami game, the Patriots and the Dolphins game, and Tua took one weird slide. Did you guys see that? Where he couldn't get down properly? And just that one slide in itself was way too weird. But Lamar's out there just getting a battering ram almost, and he's not even that big of a dude. So I would be really concerned with what the Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think anytime your quarterback takes a hit, you're going to cringe. I mean, you're looking at what happened with RG3. You're looking at this kind of the same thing, and you want to avoid that. And the way to avoid that is to develop the passing game and to be able to throw the ball, not rely on carrying the ball so many times. I mean, there's a reason the running backs, fizzle out at such an early age in the NFL. It's because they take such a beating. They carry the ball so many times a game and they take those hits. Eventually, that's going to catch up to a quarterback. I mean, it may take longer. I mean, Cam Newton's 32. It took that long to catch up to him. So, it may take longer, but at the end of the day, it's going to catch up to you.
And it's not even that, too. Like, if you just look at, like, the basic X's and O's, like, the reason why this team was so dominant in 2019 was they would get a lead and they would just grind the clock out by running all the time. But when they were down, this was not a team that's built to throw themselves back into a game. Like, you're not going to see, like, a Kellen Moore offensive coordinator tell Lamar to drop back and throw 53 times a game. Mm-hmm. That is not going to happen here. And, we've seen it last year. Like, if they fall behind, like, your chances of winning, if you're the opposing team against the Baltimore Ravens, are pretty good if Lamar Jackson has to throw himself back into a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and like we all said on the top of the show, we're going to break it down as we get into like week 2 previews. The Chiefs are coming into town and they're going to force you to throw the ball 40, 45 times because you're not going to be able to run the ball. We all think that the best way to beat the Chiefs is to run the ball, time possession, all that. That's not really true with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, the time possession doesn't matter to those guys. They could be down by 10 points in the fourth quarter, and there's like 2 big plays and they're back in the game. So you're going to have to outscore them. And to ask Lamar Jackson to throw the ball efficiently to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, it's an absolutely tall task. Now, on the other end, looks like the Raiders are going to go travel and play the Steelers. And I think that's going to be a fun game, right? Because, week 1, you kind of get a sense of what a team is, but maybe it might be a week 1 fluke. We don't really know who they are. So we're going to start to get a better picture of who the Raiders are and who the Steelers are with that week 2 matchup.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. The Raiders always play the Steelers hard, regardless of whether or not they're in Oakland or they're going over to Pittsburgh. So it should be fun. It's going to be interesting, especially because the Raiders, they won last night, but it's kind of a pirate victory because Yannick Ngakoue might be out for a long time. An offensive lineman, torn ACL. Marcus Mariota got dinged up. That's why we only saw him once. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah. I like Oakland's chances. Or Vegas.
The funny thing
they're Oakland to me. I don't give a fuck.
The funny thing today is this morning I was out and about and I saw a Jim Plunkett jersey, and then in the afternoon I was over at Target and I saw somebody wearing a Derek Carr jersey. So one big game on Monday Night Football, and all of a sudden all the jerseys come out.
So Jay, I gotta ask: did your sister put on the face paint, like silver and black, or eye black with the Waller jersey, and blasting some Ice Cube? What are we working with today? What did your sis do?
No, she was barely just kind of getting into it. This is her first sit down when I watch this game for my entertainment kind of thing. She'd watched games in the past with me and my brother, but it was not her thing, right? So last night she actually put the jersey on, and she was so complimentary of you and the fact that you got it for her. So thank you for that, brother, man. But
hey, I'm a man of my word. Hey, welcome to the family, sis. Welcome to the family.
So we're just sitting down watching the game. I was pretending to root for the Ravens just to kind of really piss her off, and it's funny. I kind of push the buttons a little bit. I was saying some reckless shit, so it was pretty funny.
Jay, reckless? No! Suckley, blah!
Hey, if they're in playoff contention by the end of the year, she better put the face paint on. Let's see it.
She better put the face paint on. Jay, if they're in playoff contention, I'm fucking flying out there. I'm watching a game with y'all. Let's go.
Come on through, brother, man.
Let's go.
We'll recreate the black hole in Columbus, Ohio,
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, man. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins traveling over to Foxborough to play the New England Patriots. The Dolphins ended up winning 17-16, and quite a bit happened towards the end of the game that we'll discuss. But, before me and Burge get into the Patriots side of things, I want to turn the floor over to Puma and get his initial thoughts on Miami Dolphins, what he liked, what he thought about Tua's performance. It's quite something to go into New England and win a game against the Patriots. So, congrats, Puma, So, what was your thoughts on what you saw out of the Dolphins on Sunday?
I mean, my thoughts on the Dolphins defense, hard hitting. I don't know if Flo made it a point to be yo, I want you to rattle the kid's cage, because to Mac Jones's credit, that kid was taking shots. That kid was taking shots in the pocket. He was taking shots after the throw. You could make a logical argument. Some of those could have been roughing the passer flags. I think one of them was. But I mean, the defense was good. But Xavier Howard, as advertised, the best corner in football, in my opinion, forcing that fumble late in the game. But like Tua, I mean, it still was, kind of dinking and dunking. Like there were times where he did have 30+ yard plays with Devontae Parker, Uncle Devontae, and then Jalen Waddle, who I think is going to be a stud. I mean, that kid's got the goods, like you said, Jay, coming out of Alabama. But like everything else is Like the offensive line wasn't that great. The running game was okay. Like Myles Gaskin was all right. Like for what the offensive line was able to open up against this defense, it was. Like, I'm not, super ecstatic going into a home game against the Buffalo Bills, which we're going to break down in a little bit. But, enough to, build upon. Like, if we can squeak out an upset against the Buffalo Bills, then, okay, the team's starting to come around. I still want to see Tua push the ball down the field. The couple of times that he did, it ended in an interception, bouncing off of Mike Gesicki's hands at one point. So... it's still, I want to see the deep shot. I can live, I'll say it till the day I fucking die. I can live with Tua throwing an interception, trying to push the ball downfield, than trying to do death by 1,000 razor blades. That's it. I can live with the picks. I don't care. Be the next 30 for 30 for all I care. Just push the ball down the field.
Puma, what do you think is the ceiling for Tua? Are we talking top 5, top 10? Because I'm watching this game on Sunday. And I'm expecting more out of Tua, right?
Honestly, right now, from what we've seen last year and now, Alex Smith. That's it. He's not I haven't seen Tua take a game over yet. I haven't seen Tua get into a huddle and say, listen, motherfuckers, I'm putting you on my back. And I'm sorry, I'm dropping MFers here. But in reality... I have not seen him go into a huddle and drop an MF or I'm putting this team on my back. Let's go. We're gonna march down the field. We're gonna keep our foot on this team's throat. Let's go. It's just been dinking and dunking death by 1,000 razor blades. Break glass and have Fitzpatrick come in and be the killer. Or hey, Tua's not big enough. We have to have Jacoby Brissett come in and run for 2 yards or try to get a team to go offsides. Yeah. That is what I'm working with right now. Which is not what I was sold when he was coming out of Alabama.
Yeah, listen, I think you're spot on, man. I think I'm finally starting to see the fact that Tua might not be it, man. I was holding out hope because of what I saw on the college level. With Mac Jones, he got the team from week 1 in Alabama, and he essentially took them through a build-up process and went through the cupcakes first, and then SEC play. So he had quite a bit of footing when he got to the playoffs. Tua was thrown into the fire in the half of a national championship game when Jalen Hurts got benched. And when I saw out of him that night, I'll never forget, because the moxie you have, the confidence you got to have to come into a national championship game and throw darts down the field is something I'll never forget. So I thought that would translate over to the NFL, but so far, I am massively disappointed. So much so that I thought Mac Jones, a rookie that's been in the NFL for 4 months, way outplayed him. I thought Mac Jones looked head and shoulders better than Tua, right? And that's where I'm going to start the Patriots analysis on this side of things, where, for the most part, I liked what I saw out of Mac Jones on Sunday, right? He looked poised. He got the ball out quickly. Obviously the Pats were trying to give him a easy reads and try to have him go through his progression as soon as possible. But he seemed like he can belong in the NFL, and he absolutely outplayed Tua, and I think it's very encouraging. Right? I have nothing negative to say of Mac Jones' performance. I mean, if I'm nitpicking, I'd say that there's way too many little bit checkdowns. Right? I wish there was some more looking down the field kind of thing. 31 out of his 39 pass attempts or within 10 yards. But listen, that's something, you can't even bring up because the kid's first start. I was absolutely happy with what I saw out of Mac Jones.
The offensive lineman, that I'm going to say this, Burge, and the floor is yours. I was listening to the way home from work the last third and fourth quarter. And there were times where I believe it was Zolak said, this offensive lineman is going to get Mac Jones killed. I can't remember his name.
Heron?
Yes,
It was Heron.
Heron was going to get Mac killed, and he was spot on. I went back and I looked, and y'all can agree with me. Mac Jones was taking shots, and he was taking shots chest level and below. There were more leg shots and knee shots than there were to the chest, if you know what I'm saying. So the kid stood pat, the kid stood tall. He showed me a lot. He looked the part. And Burge, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, just following up on Heron. Heron got benched in that game for he came in to take over for Trent Brown, who got hurt on the first series, and then I think they went to I think his name is Dasher. Is that right, Jay? The third string right tackle they brought in. They ended up benching Heron and brought in another their third string tackle. I believe it's Yashiv Dasher. I think his name is
Yashiv Dasher. I'm blanking.
I think
I'll
his
look
name,
it
but
up.
yeah,
Well, he didn't
yeah,
kill Mac
anyways.
Jones. We know
No.
that much.
And he came in. He played better than Heron did. That was a huge disappointment because Heron had done very well as a swing tackle last year. I remember a lot of people were very happy with how he had stepped in when he needed to. But getting into the game here, Jay, I kind of echo a lot of what you said with Mac Jones. I thought he vastly outplayed Tua. I was very happy with what I saw out of him, and is probably one of the only real high points that I can take out of this game is that the kid can play. There were no throws that he made, and I know they did not attempt a ball to the end zone. I'll get to that in a minute. But there were no throws that Mac Jones made that made me cringe or be like, "What the hell are you doing there?" Like every throw that he made seemed like it was the right decision on the plays. He just looked sound. He looked, like you said, Puma. He looked poised. He looked like he was, he wasn't the spotlight wasn't too big for him. The pass to James White on the wheel route was an unbelievable throw. He dropped it right in his basket there. I know it didn't go for a score or anything, but that play definitely wowed me. When I saw that, I was like, wow, this kid can definitely play. He makes the right decisions, and yeah, I love the fact that he was standing in there taking the hits to get the ball out. And obviously, I don't love that he's getting hit, but to know that he's not shying away from those hits and that he's going to follow through on his throws, in the presence of a guy barreling down on him, gives me some very, very, very good feelings about this kid going forward.
I think. I'm sorry. I think
No,
honestly,
go ahead.
the only time he had happy feet was when he fumbled the football at the beginning of the game. The rest of the time, the kid had ice in his veins.
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
not even going to hold that against him because me
Right.
and Burg are talking about that. It's going to happen. Like, I mean, it is what it is. This is why we were hoping Mac would start so we could get through those, early rookie moments and get through
Absolutely.
those lows so eventually we can build on it. Now, obviously, he has to kind of move forward and, the upcoming Jets game is going to give us some more indication of how the offensive staff views him. Are they going to let him open up a little bit more, throw some stuff downfield? That's all going to come with it. I mean, it is what it is when you open the game and it's your first game and you're a little bit freaked out. I mean, that's totally normal,
Yep, absolutely. And, I was definitely freaked out by that. I was like, wow, the kid actually tried to throw an incomplete pass backwards. I was like, yikes, that's not a good start.
Well,
but anyways, he
that's
made up
one
for
of the
it.
few times that you were freaked out and I wasn't. I was like, oh, you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
You
even
were
if
like, it's
fumbled
ups and
there,
downs, ups and
It is what
downs.
it is, bro. I mean, it's literally his first drive. And the same thing happened with the Jets down in Carolina. Zach Wilson was god-awful in the first half. He took like 5 sacks, threw a pick or whatever. Second half, he looked really, really good. I was watching some of his highlights this morning, and like he started really coming on in the second half. He started seeing where the blitz was coming from, what windows were open, and he was getting the ball in there. So it's going to happen. Even Trevor Lawrence kind of had an up and down day, but he was still stronger as the game went on. So I'm totally fine with living that as long as he keeps building off of it next week.
Absolutely. And, just an easy way for me to break down this game, I kind of came up with a 3 ups and 3 downs for the Patriots in this game. So I'll briefly talk about, the 3 ups. Obviously, we just hit on one. I'm going to say Mac Jones, so I'm not going to rehash that again. The second up here is Nelson Aguilar. He came in and he was obviously, he caught the touchdown pass from Mac Jones. I thought he looked really good in the offense. The guy wasn't even sure if he was going to suit up and play, and he came in and he made an impact. So I was happy about that. And again, I know the Patriots lost, so these ups are a little bit taking it with a grain of salt, so to speak. The last ones I want to get into are Matt Judon and Josh Uche in this game. I thought they looked really good on the defensive side of the ball. Judon with that epic hit on Tua on the interception where he chased him down and he absolutely manhandled him. It was just like, wow, what a hit.
His back teeth were floating.
Yeah. I thought he broke 2.5. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, that was a beautiful hit. Clean, nothing dirty about it. It was just a great hit. And then Josh Uche, barreled through and came up with a sack. I'm really excited to see what this kid turns into as the year goes on. I think they really might have something in him going forward. Now to the fun part, Jay.
Here we go.
3 down.
Ding,
So
ding, 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 ding.
I'm going to start, and this would have been an up if not for the fumbling mishaps that they had as the running backs. I thought they ran the ball pretty well. It was very evident that they came in, that they were going to come out and run the ball. Damian Harris went over 100 yards. But those fumbles, man, Ramondre Stevenson with that fumble, early on, and then, the back-breaking fumble of Damian Harris. I was ready to crucify him on Sunday. I've since gotten my bearings under me.
Ready to crucify. Burge, you were driving the nails down.
I know. I was telling Jay
you had the
today,
hammer, you had one nail in, you had the second nail in, and we talked you off the ledge by poking the bear. We stopped you from putting that third nail in the guy.
You turned on him so quickly, man. You used to love Damian Harris.
I know. I still do. But listen, I told Jay earlier today, Puma, you weren't. I don't think this was a conversation with you, but I need that night to when the Patriots lose to just get my irrational venting thoughts out, and then I will wake up Monday morning and
you did.
I know.
You did.
Just get me through that day, and then everybody listening, if you follow my Twitter feed the day of the Patriots games, just know if they lose and I'm being absolutely irrational on Twitter, it's because it's me venting. But anyways. That fumble that Damian Harris had at the end of the game was absolutely inexcusable. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care about that. If they're being given the ball in that situation, you protect that ball no matter what. And the onus for me is on the player. And I know you guys disagree about that. I'm sure we'll get into it, once I get through this segment, this part of it here. But that's inexcusable. You cannot put the ball on the ground when you're in the red zone with 3 minutes to go when you're down a point. It brought back PTSD with the Buffalo game last year when Cam Newton did the same damn thing. Fumbled the game away at the end when they were driving to win. Second down on this game was the offensive play calling with the coaching staff. I was very unhappy with how conservative this play calling was, even as the game was going on. I get at the beginning of the game, you come out, you're going to be conservative. You're not going to put Mac Jones in a situation where he needs to, where he may fail or turn the ball over or whatever. But as the game went on, and you could see that Mac Jones was, he was making the right decisions. He wasn't putting the team in a position to, turn the ball over. Let the kid throw. Let him go. Let him attempt the ball to the end zone, for God's sakes. Like, that really irked me that they did not unleash him. And granted, I know they threw the ball, I think it was 39 times in this game. But let him air it out, because he was clearly showing that he was ready for the moment. Finally, my last third, then I'll shut up, Jay, let you go, is the secondary. I was very, very displeased with how, especially the corners played on the opening drive of the game, the opening drive of the half, and then that last drive after the Damian Harris fumble. They were letting these slants go like crazy. Part of that I think you could put on the play calling because they weren't in man. They were in a lot of zone most of this game. But, Puma, I'm with you on Jalen Mills, man. I'm off that
now
wagon.
you come around. Now you come around. Welcome to the Jalen Mills Human Gas Can Club.
Absolutely. The so-called...
Now you see what I'm talking about.
Green Goblin. I am done with him. I mean, he did have a nice breakup. I think it was in the third quarter. But other than that, that dude was abysmal. I am done with him. Let's just hope week 7 Stephon Gilmore comes back, because this secondary absolutely needs him in there so they can start running their normal defense where they run a lot of man versus zone. J.C. Jackson wasn't great either. He had a couple of nice plays, but still nothing stood out. Those 3 drives, Tua and the Dolphins just ran their thing with them. It seemed like there was no real pushback on that. Just get me Stephon Gilmore back. I'm looking forward to week 7 for this secondary. I'm done with Jalen Mills, man. Jonathan Jones, great interception on that ball by Tua. Obviously, it hit off the hands of Gesicki, like you said, Puma. But get me Gilmore back. Go ahead.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, Tua and Devontae Parker could have ran that quick slant off the release all game, and nobody was going to stop them.
They were running that RPO, like, quick slant game all day long, I'm like, It looks like it was basic college stuff, too. I was surprised they're having so much success with it. But listen, for the most part, Burge, I agree with you on the positives. Like, I really loved what I saw out of Mac Jones. Judon will probably be on my positive list as well. The man's an absolute freak. I mean, he's going to have, like, one of those years where he's going to become like a top 5 defender in the NFL because of how well he's going to produce. Other than that, man, I don't think I can really put like Uche or like Mills or even like Phillips had a better second half, but for the most part, the rest of the team just didn't play that well. It's a weird game because statistically the Patriots dominated this game. Time of possession, yards, all that stuff except for turnovers, and the big turnover at the end of the game kind of led us to a loss. So if I had to do the whole blame pie thing, I would give Damon Harrison obviously 25% of the blame and 75% of the blame on the coaching staff, because I do believe
oh god, here we go.
Bill Belichick and the coaching staff got outcoached. I 100% believe that Brian Flores essentially ran circles around him, right? And this happened last year as well, and we could always point to Cam Newton being, oh, well, listen, your quarterback sucks, so obviously, you can't really put the onus on Bill Belichick. However, on Sunday, Mac Jones had a great game. Like, he had an absolutely fantastic game, and you were in position to win the game, but you just couldn't come up with the stops late in the game to give him the ball back. And I'm talking about what happened after the fumble, right? Burge, you make it seem like when the fumble happened, the game ended immediately. That's not the case. Obviously, there was still 3 minutes left on the clock, and the Dolphins had, a whole drive? I mean, at one point they had a penalty, and it was first.
I didn't say that at all.
It was 1st and 14, and what I was just hoping for was Bill Belichick and that genius coaching of his to somehow get the ball back for one more drive, right? I was hoping that we would essentially, give Mac Jones one more try, but the bigger point being made, and some of the guys on the Boston radio shows were making it like the 1-score losses are kind of insane over the last year and a half or so. Since 2020, they're 3-5 in 1-score losses when there were 30-16 from 24 to 2019. Right? This it's something where I just wish that we would go back to the old ways of the Patriots, where we played great in late games, came up with the big stops, had situational awareness, and essentially were able to close that game. That's something that we just couldn't do on Sunday night.
I'll say these 2 things before you guys go like 15 rounds. 2 things. One. The penalties are on, listen.
Absolutely.
The coaching staff. There were times where it was undisciplined. I think it was the beginning of the 3rd quarter, because I was driving home from work, and Gunnar Olszewski had a great punt return. And that got called back because Matt Judon was on the Dolphins sideline and was sitting on the bench, and it got called for basically taunting. It was unnecessary roughness, but that's basically what it was. All right, and then the next play, so you just lost 15 yards of real estate off that punt return. The next play, offensive lineman, I believe, I forgot his name, was probably the same guy who was trying to get Mac Jones killed. Gets called for personal foul for another 15 yards. So you just lost 30 yards off of a great punt return. Things like that are on the coaching staff. And I'm saying this.
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'll agree with you on that.
I'm saying this not just about Belichick with the fumble stuff. I'm going to say this about Ron Rivera and Antonio Gibson. I'm going to say this about John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. I'm not putting the fumbles on the coach, but what I am saying is going into week 2, where you have a key division matchup for the Washington football team. You have a huge matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. God gave you 2 hands for a goddamn reason. You need to hold on to the football. Washington would have won that game against the Chargers if Antonio Gibson didn't fumble for a second time on his own 5-yard line. Justin Herbert made him pay. We all know what happened last night with Lamar Jackson. Like it or not, call it fundamentals. I understand the players need to take personal responsibility, but it is on the coaching staff to hammer home. You putting the ball on the ground is putting us in a bad position. Jay, we were talking about this offline after the game. The old Patriot way was, we're going to have the other team shoot themselves in the foot. We're going to remain composed. We're going to keep doing our game, and we're just going to let these guys shoot themselves. And that didn't happen Sunday.
No, that's exactly right. That didn't happen Sunday. But if the Patriots coaching staff is going to bench the rookie, Stevenson, who fumbled the ball early, you're going to rely on your quote-unquote veteran running back that you have, he's 3 years in the league now, to hold on to the ball. And to me, that is 100% on the player. All right? You can't have all your running backs fumbling the ball. At some point, there's got to be personal responsibility on that. And to me, that's not on Bill Belichick. That's not on Josh McDaniels. That's not on Ivan Fears, the running back coach. These players need to know that they need to have the ball secured in these situations. The one thing you can't do is fumble the ball. And they did it. And you're 100% right. This is typical of the Patriots, what they were, pre-2020, where they wait around for other teams to shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't do that. It was the roles were reversed in this game. The Patriots shot themselves in the foot, and they ended up with a loss. Now, I want J.J. Taylor to be active in week two here against the Jets. It's clear that they need to have as many running backs active as possible. There was a report out that Damian Harris had been fatigued going into that situation. In that situation, I would put that on McDaniels and the coaching staff that you don't put a fatigued running back in there. I get it that Stevenson was benched. They didn't trust him to make that. He's a rookie. I understand that. But they had just given a carry to Brandon Bolden in that game. They had him active. Why, if Damian Harris is fatigued, why are you not going to trust a guy who's been in the league for, 8 years now, to go out there and just give you a carry to give Damian Harris a break to spell him? That part of it.
Put James White back there, too.
Exactly. Give James White the ball, 100%. And that is a fair second guess, and I'm not going to argue against that.
Burg, let me ask you a question, and I'm not asking this, in a weird or negative way, but
sure you aren't.
I'm concerned about the fact that we can't seem to win close games anymore, right? And last year, obviously, a lot of it was put on Cam. The fact that we're 3-5 since the beginning of 2020 in 8 points or less games, a lot of that was on Cam last year. But this year, with a great performance by Mac Jones, you would have thought they walked away with a win on Sunday, right? And it just seems to me that the margin of error that Brady provided is obviously not there anymore. And it seems that Belichick's crapping all over himself because of that, right? The margin of error was so big before. I mean, anything could happen. He'd come in, erase it, and Brady would lead us down the field and we'd win the game. After the fumble, I in the back of my mind, I just had a feeling that somehow Belichick would do something, have some sort of defensive scheme in the back pocket, some sort of blitz that he hasn't shown all game to bring the heat after that fumble with 3:31 left to get the ball back in Mac Jones' hand, and maybe you can try another field goal or drive down the field. But, there were times where the Dolphins were 1st and 14 after a 4-yard penalty with 3 minutes left, and they still give up 13 yards. It just seems like the old Belichick would have had some sort of answer in that situation, and he did it on Sunday.
See, for me with that is the second guess for me in that situation was the usage of the timeouts. I would have allowed Miami an attempt to, or at least waited till after the 2-minute warning to start using them. Look, the secondary was trash yesterday. We all agree on that. And those little dink and dunk slant routes that the Patriots could not stop all game came back to bite them. I think it was Mills on. I think it was Waddle, or was it Parker at the end?
Probably Parker. Parker had his lunch.
Side note: I can't wait for Devontae Parker to become a Patriots fan so I can buy his jersey for my little guy. Anyways, yes, that was brutal, and Jalen Mills wasn't even in the same realm as Parker when he caught that ball, and he ended up going and getting the first down. And the play of the timeouts in this game irked me that they used them all before the 2-minute warning, because then you're hedging your bets that you are gonna stop the Dolphins on this next, on that series, on that set of downs that they had when you're calling the timeouts, and in the end they didn't. And to be honest with you, once Jay, I'm gonna be different than you on this. Once the fumble happened, I knew the game was over. I was just I have no faith in the defense to get the stop. I just didn't.
But I mean, we have the greatest coach of all time. He should be able to have something in his back pocket with 3:31 left. The game at that point was not over. There are many games in the NFL, like last night, right? The Raiders ended up with one big play to end the game. And that's not what happened with Damian Harrison. He had one bad play, but the game was still going on after that. And the bigger concern I have is we spent all this money in the offseason on the defense, and they looked kind of trash. Besides Judon, they still look soft on defense, especially up the middle. They got pushed around, and I did not expect that week 1 of the 2021 football season. I expected the defense to carry the offense. I expected it to lean on the defense until the offense kind of came about, but it was kind of almost a role reversal where Mac Jones looked decent moving the football, and the defense was just kind of almost awful, truthfully.
Well, I think Christian Barmore showed something in this game when he was out there. He was pushing guys around on the defensive front there, and I think that he's going to end up developing into a Will Fork style of player for this defense. I really believe that. That being said, I mean, I don't know how. You look at the secondary of this team, and the way Jalen Mills played in this game. I just there was something in my head that just said this is done. I don't have faith in Jalen Mills, and again, it comes back to me clamoring for Stephon Gilmore to come back in week 7. The defense is going to look. It's going to be like a complete 180 as to what this defense is going to look like once Stephon Gilmore is back out there and they can start playing their man defense. Because obviously you're going to. I know what your answer is to this, but are you going to trust Jalen Mills to go 1-on-1 with the second best target on the opposing team's arsenal? No, I'm not. I sure as hell I'm not. Yeah. I'm ready to just write that guy off. I'm done with him at this point. He's going to show me something more in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what are we looking for in the Jets-Pats game?
Oh, I think it's going to be a steamroll. I mean, I think this is
a get-right game?
Exactly what the doctor ordered. Anytime you have the New York Jets on your schedule after a bad loss, I mean, that's what you need. That's essentially. I expect a double-digit win here, right? I expect the offense to do whatever they want to do. I expect the defense to put a lot of pressure on Zach Wilson, who eventually was sacked 6 times against the Carolina Panthers because he was, essentially deer in headlights in the first half of that game. But I think on Sunday you're going to see a completely different ballgame, completely different game from the Patriots, and I think we're going to end up winning that game fairly easily.
What about you, Burge?
For me, I think you're going to finally see them pull the reins off Mac Jones a little bit. I think you're going to see them let him throw the ball. I think they're obviously still going to be run heavy in this game. I really think J.J. Taylor will be active in this game as another back option for the Patriots. And, I think, Belichick's defenses tend to eat up rookie quarterbacks. Let's call it a cliche, whatever you want to call it. But I think that the defense will be okay in terms of getting pass rush against the New York Jets, considering Mekhi Beckham is going to be out in this game. So I think that you're going to see a lot of pressure from the front 7 of this team, and it's going to help mask some of the significant deficiencies in the secondary. Mac Jones, I think, is going to have himself a day, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Whether or not it's going to be a double-digit win or not, I'm not going to go that far. I still think that the way that they're going to scheme this game, it may end up being closer than people think, but they're going to walk out of here with a win comfortably.
So if you had to guess right now, would it be Damian Harris, J.J. Taylor, Brennan Bolden, and James White? Do you think they dress the rookie or no?
I think it's very, very possible that he ends up getting it being the inactive this week. I think J.J. Taylor, based on how he has performed in the preseason, he was around last year too. I think he's earned his chance. So yeah, if I was going to guess, it's probably going to be Stevenson as the odd man out. Yeah. Bolden's going to be dressed for his special teams. Either way.
Yeah, and at the moment, the Patriots are a 5.5 favorite going into that Jets game.
Yeah, real quick.
I think they cover it.
I think they cover. I don't think it's going to be double digits. I think it's going to be by a touchdown. Like you said, Jay, like for all the Zach Wilson ragdolling that he took out from a Carolina front 4, that's legit. I think it's all like a bunch of former first round picks. The kid showed me a lot, especially after Mekhi Becton went down. That offensive line's always been bad when Becton's gone out. You can look at what Sam Darnold did with his splits when Becton was in there last year compared to when he wasn't in there. But I think it's going to be just like the doctor ordered. It's going to be a touchdown game, in my opinion. But I think New England walks away with the win.
Yeah, and I'm not, and hopefully, by saying this, I don't come across crazy, but because only week 2, but I think this is a low-key must-win game for the Patriots. Like, if they don't win this game...
Oh, if you go 0-2 in the division, you're the bottom with the Jets. Or
the next 2 opponents after the Jets are the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a real good chance you could be looking at 0-4 if you somehow lose this game. So I expect these guys to come out, especially with everything they're hearing, all the negativity after the Dolphins loss. I think they're going to come out and just absolutely blow the doors off of the New York Jets, man. And if they don't, oh my God. Could you imagine the next day?
Phil Gramma's going to be must-listen radio.
Pro Football Radio is going to be must listen because I'm going to end up agreeing with Jay.
Oh, is this
you heard it here,
Is
folks.
this the game? Is this the game? Okay.
So,
all right.
bet the mortgage on the Jets. Got it. All right. Jets money line. Let's go.
So you would come across to my side of the aisle if the New York Jets won on Sunday, huh?
It depends on what.
Oh, here we
He's
go.
backtracking
Here
it.
we
He's
go.
backtracking
There we go.
He's immediately
All right.
backtracking.
All right. Let's go the game previews. All right. Let's go.
All right, let's move on to Thursday
I love
night.
you, Burge.
Hey, I can talk for hours on it. Let's go.
Yeah, we're 50 minutes in, and we haven't even hit the game
Oh
preview.
my
So.
fucking god.
So
All right.
let's move on to the New York Giants taking on the Washington Football Team on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have all heard by now. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be out for multiple weeks, maybe the whole year, depending on how bad his hip injury is. We'll get more information on that. So in his absence, one of Puma's favorite players, Taylor Heineke, is going to be starting. He's going to be starting, and I'm sure Puma is going to be watching with some pants tent action, as Burge would say on Thursday night. So, Puma, let's turn it over to you. Let's get your thoughts on this game.
Yep. So, I mean, this is Jay. I mean, you were talking about this is a key division matchup, like for the Jets and the Pats. Like, this is a key division matchup for the Giants and the Washington Football Team. Like, this division is so weak. Like, you cannot go 0-2 in your own division. The New York Giants are coming off of a 27-13 loss. I mean, really, like the Denver Broncos just dominated the New York Giants, in my opinion, from what I saw. Saquon Barkley, I didn't think he was going to do a whole lot against the Denver Broncos just because of the short turnaround on Thursday Night Football. It'll be interesting to see if they let Saquon run loose. But again, it doesn't really matter if the offensive line for the Giants are not going to be opening up holes. I shared the stat with you guys offline, but he was Saquon for the 10 touches that he had. He was the most inefficient runner in all of the National Football League of Week 1. He ran more east-west than he did north-south. That's because of how bad the offensive line was. Daniel Jones, the fumble problems continue. I think he's got 31 fumbles in 28 starts. So that is a massive problem for a Washington defense that is in a prime bounce back spot. And they laid an egg against the Chargers. Chase Young had his ass handed to him by Rashawn Slater, that rookie out of, I believe it's Northwestern. It got so bad against the Chargers on Sunday that they had to move Chase Young on the other side of the offensive line so they could get more pressure, because Justin Herbert was 14-19 on third down conversions. The Washington Football Team could not get off of the goddamn field. But this is a prime bounce back spot. Antonio Gibson needs to hold on to the football. Like I said, Ron Rivera, the running back coaches, they need to emphasize ball security. And you know what? You can say that all you want, Burge, but there's a rumor that has gone around for decades that Tiki Barber's fumbles were so bad that Tom Coughlin may or may not have duct taped the football to Tiki Barber to teach ball control. This is they're grown ass adults, they're professionals. I understand that, but when you're putting the ball on the ground to costing the team a victory, you need to emphasize that shit, and they need to do that with Antonio Gibson. The spread in this game, last I looked, was Washington -3. The over/under is 40.5. I like Washington covering here. I think they're going to roll against the New York Giants. This is going to be a key bounce back spots. I like the under in this game, but give me Washington winning. Give me Washington covering the game. Let's go. Heineke!
Yeah. Is there any news on if Evan Ingram's going to be able to play? Because I think last I checked, he remained sidelined for today's walkthrough practice session, right?
Right. He was still sidelined with what's a calf injury. The turnaround this week is so short that they really don't have full practice reports. It's just estimated. If they had a practice, I think he would have missed today. Honestly, I'm not expecting Evan Ingram to play. If he is at all, it's going to be a decoy, and decoy is air quotes because he doesn't do a whole lot when the game's on the line. He just balls out in practice.
Yeah.
No, I'm Puma. I'm with you on this. I like Washington here to cover and win pretty handily. I think we're starting to see the obituary on Danny Pennies. I moved my nickname Danny Pennies to the New York Giants. One of my good buddies is a big Giants fan, and he's already at the point where he is throwing in the towel on this year with Danny Jones and the New York Giants. It's just
You got to, man.
it very well could see David Gettleman fired at some point during the season if this doesn't get corrected. Puma, I'm with you on Taylor Heineke. I love what he brings. I mean, he was pretty good when he came into the game.
That ball.
11 of 15 for 122. I like that. This is his chance to kind of solidify his position as a starting NFL quarterback in the league. And it's perfect. It's kind of similar to the Patriots in the Jets here. It's kind of the perfect get right game for the Washington football team. I mean, Chase Young and that defensive line has a horrendous offensive line they're going up against this week. It's a perfect get right game for them. Give me the Washington football team here, to cover and all that. And just real quick, first of Parker's picks for the week. He decided to go for the yogurt treat on the Giants logo here. So he's going with the Giants in this game.
Okay, upset alert.
Upset alert. So we'll see what happens.
Listen, I was watching most of the games on Sunday, and I have a Sunday Direct TV now, so I was kind of like feeling back and forth through a bunch of different teams and a bunch of different games, and I think I've got it down to 3 teams that I think are the worst in the NFL. After week 1, obviously, there's a lot that can happen. But the Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the New York Giants were the absolute 3 worst teams I saw all Sunday long, man. And listen, Daniel Jones is not it, man. I was never a big fan of him coming out of college. The New York Giants eventually took him because of that Manning connection, which is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to take a franchise quarterback just because one of the Mannings said so. But his fumbling and his turnovers are just continuing. He fumbled late in the third quarter that all but sealed the fate for his team. And it's one of those things where I even think David Gettleman, like you said, Burg, is probably going to be gone in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Like, you might see a full-on, let's try to reset this whole thing. We'll keep Joe Judge for another couple of years, but, Danny Pennies and Gettleman might be out of the picture. On the Washington football side, man, I'm absolutely so stoked to watch Taylor Heineke on Thursday night. I cannot watch any more if it's tragic. I don't understand how this guy keeps getting starts in the NFL. This is his 14th team. He's played for half of the league, and for some reason he's still starting. So I've always thought that Taylor Heineke had something to him. He has that confidence. He has some heart. He has some balls. I do believe that they can essentially Taylor Heineke can lead them to a couple of wins. Now it is funny that Ron Rivera isn't calling Cam Newton to come in for a little workout. I mean, I would have for sure thought there was some sort of reports on that, but it looks like that's not going to happen either. And on the other side of it, for Washington, the defensive side, that front seven was absolutely getting mauled by the Chargers offensive line, and obviously the Chargers put quite a bit of resources and money behind retooling that offensive line for Justin Herbert. But Chase Young, Sweat, all those guys, they were basically invisible the whole night.
They had to move Young.
Yeah,
they had to move Young off a rookie.
Dude, Slater's a real deal. So Slater actually did the same thing to him when Northwestern played Ohio State a couple of years back. I mean, Young was absolutely nowhere to be found that game as well. So Slater's the real deal. And if this continues where they can't get pressure on Danny Pennies, the Giants are going to end up winning this game, but I think it's going to be a different situation on Thursday night. I've got the Washington football team winning 21-17, man.
And real quick, before we move off this game, this might be a kind of coming out party for Jamin Davis. He was the Washington football team's first round pick this year. There was a lot of hype going in for Jamin Davis against the Chargers game. The linebacker position is thin already, but I think Jamin Davis, this is going to be a get-right game personally for himself as well too. So I'm keeping an eye out for Jamin Davis. I'm keeping an eye out for this whole team as in totality. But Jamin Davis, for sure, I'm going to be watching on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, Buffalo, Miami.
My brother's a big Giants fan, so he's going to come over, and I'm just going to be poking him all night as well.
Oh, God. Fight night
in
the Cheema house.
Let's move on to the Puma Bowl. The Buffalo Bills at 0-1. Coming off of a loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers, are taking on the Miami Dolphins, who we just talked about a few seconds ago being the Patriots. So, Puma, who are you picking in this game? Which jersey are you rocking on Sunday?
In this game,
better off.
In this game here, I mean, from a betting perspective and just from the eye test here, I think this is going to be a Buffalo game. I mean, right now the spread, last I looked, it was Buffalo 3-point favorites. Over under is 48.5. They're going to be traveling down to South Beach. I mean, let's be honest. The first half of the Buffalo game, like, it was shaky, but they were up 10-0, and then halftime came and the wheels fell off the bus. The Steelers made a great special teams play. They blocked the punt for a touchdown. I think, what was it, like 26 unanswered points in the second half, and they ended up losing. What the hell was it?
23-26, yeah.
23-26, and it was just. I think it was a mix of a couple of things. It was a mix of the Bills drinking their own Kool-Aid. And I think it was a mix of everyone just being hyped up for having a full house in Buffalo for the first time. I mean, they didn't even have anybody there for the playoffs, for Christ's sake. But I think it was a mix of two things. I think this is going to be another get-right game for the Buffalo Bills. I have more faith in their defensive line against the offensive line for the Miami Miami Dolphins. I mean, they might as well be the Miami football team at this point, because I just, Dinkin and Duncan, death by 1,000 razor blades. Starlu Talele, hopefully he'll be able to start this game, get some pressure up front, take a little heat off of Ed Oliver and the rookie draft pick out of Miami. But I mean, this is a get right game. Josh Allen looks shaky. I'll be the first to fucking admit that. He looks shaky. The offense looks shaky. Brian Daboll took some blame in this game as well too. They're going to be getting right in this game, in my opinion. I think they cover the 3 points. I'm not really going to touch the over under this game. If I had to lean, I'll probably take the over, just because I think Buffalo's going to try to prove a point here. But Tua needs to show me something. Like, you need to show me that dog that you had, Jay, like you pointed out, coming off the bench cold in that national championship game. Like, you need to show me that dog. Until I see that dog, you are Alex Smith Jr. in my eyes. So, but right now, give me Buffalo to win.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Brian Daboll, because I do believe the whole approach to this game was off, man. Because I think Brian Daboll wanted to come in, essentially spread the ball out, no running back, and ask Josh Allen to pick the Pittsburgh secondary apart, which is kind of suspect. And in theory, I guess it makes sense. But in execution, it was a complete disappointment, right? They end up losing 26-23. And furthermore, you are right, Puma. Josh Allen's did give off that, like, year one, year two vibe. You know, like, he definitely did look like he, you know, obviously I'm not going to say regress, but, like, he definitely did look the old Josh Allen. The offensive line got mauled by the Pittsburgh defense. The wide receivers weren't getting separation. I think all in all, it was just a brutal all-around day for the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a get-right game. We've already discussed Miami in detail, but give me the Bills to rebound here. Give me Bills 28-24.
Yeah, I'm going to be with you guys on this. I think that this is also a textbook get-right game for the Buffalo Bills. I watched the entirety of that Buffalo-Pittsburgh game to my pleasure. I loved it. But, you know, the biggest thing that stood out to me is the lack of a running game for the Buffalo Bills. I know Devin Singletary ended up with 11 for 72, but most of that came late in the game.
Right.
You know, they were relying
Zach
on
Moss
Josh
was
Allen.
inactive, right?
Yeah, he didn't even get a carry. I think he was inactive. I think that's right. Matt Breida was in there. You know, they were relying on Josh Allen to run the ball. You know, there was very questionable play calling in this game. I remember a fourth down play call in this game where they ended up throwing it like 6 yards in the backfield. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, why are you doing that? You know, and, you know, it is a get-right game for the Buffalo Bills. I am going to take them, you know, to cover the 3.5 points here. But, you know, going against Pittsburgh's offense versus Buffalo's defense in that game, I was very, like, just mad about the Buffalo defense. I mean, Big Ben looked cashed for 3/4 of that game, and he just did not look good. It was very evident that the Steelers were having trouble running the ball in that game. I mean, Najee Harris had 16 for 45. You know, 18 of that came on one carry. So, you know, they were containing him and making Big Ben run the ball, and the game was won on defense. Will Miami's defense be able to do the same thing? I don't think so. I think you'll see Xavier Howard, you know, shadowing Stephon Diggs in this game, which Pittsburgh did a great job in containing him. He did have 9 receptions for 69 yards in that game on Sunday. And if Miami can, you know, take him, you know, eliminate him, I mean, Josh Allen looked confused back there. He was definitely looking like he was very frustrated in this game. He was showing it, the emotion throughout it.
How much did you love that?
Oh, dude, I was pants tent all afternoon until the Patriots played. But, you know, it's a classic rebound game for them. I'm going to be very interested to see I do think that they cover and end up getting the win in this game.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the stats, you would have thought the Buffalo Bills ran away with this game. Time of possession was 33 minutes for Bills, 26 for the Steelers. 371 total yards for the Bills, 252 for the Steelers. I mean, for most of these stats that you're looking at, first downs 22-16, it seems like the Buffalo Bills were won this game, but unfortunately that turnover that was huge. I mean, that essentially kind of did them in as well. And then the big punt block on special teams, that was the one that kind of really turned on tide as well.
Mm-hmm. Steelers defense is going to be elite this year. Mm-hmm. They're going to be one of the best. Their units are going to be one of the best in the league.
I'll agree to that. They look nasty as hell, man.
But I'll say this much. With Xavier Howard, we figured Stephon Diggs is going to be shadowed. Emmanuel Sanders, he's probably going to have a couple of island coverages from Byron Jones. I'm looking for a big game from Gabriel Davis. Like, if Gabe Davis cannot get some wiggle, get some action as Josh Allen's go-to guy with those two guys possibly being on an island, then I don't know what to tell you. But
he had a phenomenal TD catch in that game. TD catch in that game.
Yep. So Gabe Davis, keep an eye out.
All right. Let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys, who are coming off of a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football.
Another thrilling game, by the way, for opening night. That was a great game.
Oh man, that was awesome. Versus the Los Angeles Chargers, I want to know that I just coming off of a win against the Washington Football Team. And let's start with the Chargers, right? Like, I watched that Chargers football team game wire to wire, and I was just so impressed with what I'm seeing out of Chargers, right? They're a stout on defense. Derwin James looks like he's got his burst back. Their wide receivers were getting separation. And that reworked offensive line in the offseason for Justin Herbert, I mean, that's given him time to throw the football downfield, and he looks absolutely amazing, man. He made a few throws on Sunday that, obviously, I'm already a big fan of Justin Herbert, but I was like, holy shit. Like, on pivotal third down plays, Herbert delivered ropes for like 17, 19, 20, and 9 yards. And essentially had a crucial and a really big one down in the fourth quarter as well to put the game away. He had one brutal interception, but everything I've seen out of Chargers so far, man, they look really, really good. Now, on the other end, for the Dallas Cowboys, listen, if there's ever moral victory in the NFL, then the Cowboys won morally Thursday night. Like, it took a last-second vintage Brady drive for the Buccaneers to pull that game off. And mostly because Dak looked like he never got hurt. He came back, week one, just like looked like he's in the MVP race, throwing 403 yards, 58 attempts. Like the man looks like he's on a mission, and the Dallas Cowboys are going to be somebody to be reckoned with this year, especially in the NFC least. So, he got the ball out quick. He was carving up the defense, and essentially Zeke, he had no help along the way in regards to Zeke in the game plan and call for Zeke running the ball. But I think, in regards to this game, give me the Chargers winning 27-24, man.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I got the Chargers rolling in this game. I mean, Justin Herbert is a bad MFer, and Jay, I just hope you ordered your jersey for Herbert. But I mean, really, like, all I'm going to say about Dallas is, excuse me, they have to get more balance on the football. Like, you can't have Dak throwing 58 times. He missed preseason. He really wasn't active much in training camp because of a shoulder strain, and an argument could be made because he's compensating because of the ankle injury here, but you got to get some balance. I saw a report from David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com that Kellen Moore said that he called 28 run plays, but because of the front that Dak was seeing, he checked out of 11 of them, which, okay, I understand. Like, you want to actually get positive plays, but you need to get some balance. You need to get some semblance. Zeke looks like he cut weight. I really only watched half an episode of Hard Knocks, so you guys can speak a little bit more to that. Like, let's get Zeke involved a little bit more in the passing game, a little screen game here and there. Like, we need to get some balance. But at the same time, if you look at the stats of Mike McCarthy his last couple of years in Green Bay, they were bottom tier, possibly 30 through 32 of being able to run the football efficiently in the NFL. So I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised at the same time. But I'm with you, Jay. I expect the Chargers to roll in this game. The spread last I saw, it was Chargers 3-point favorites at home, which is really going to be a home game for Dallas because the Chargers don't have a home fan base yet in that new stadium that the Rams built, essentially. The over-under is 55. I'm feeling a little froggy here. I think we're going to go over in this game, but give me the Chargers to win and cover the 3 points.
Yeah, for me, watching that game Thursday night, it was one that I didn't want to stay up and watch the whole thing because I figured it was going to be a blowout one way or the other, when it came down to it. And I ended up staying up way too late to watch that game, and it was a phenomenal football game, like you guys said. It was very, very pleasing to see what Dak Prescott was doing in that game. It seemed like he hadn't lost a step. He was out there tossing the ball around, slinging it, and he looks like he's right back to where he was. That being said, but in terms of what you guys were saying about the balance, I think that will come. The Cowboys will get Zach Martin back for this game, so I think you're going to see a little bit more balance throughout this game. I think that Dak right now, if he can replicate what he did and continue it, he's a very, very early shot to look at an MVP nomination for this season. I'd like the Cowboys here to cover, plus the 3 here to cover it.
Okay.
Their defense obviously is a little suspect. Granted how that game played out the other day, but their offense, they have so many weapons on that offense with CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper was a beast, especially in fantasy. In that game, obviously losing Michael Gallup hurts, but I think you're going to see them incorporate Zeke more into the game plan. They still have Tony Pollard back there too, who is, I think a great athlete to have as your number 2 running back. I like the Cowboys to cover here, the plus 3 here. And real quick before we move on, going back to the Dolphins-Bills game, Parker did pick the Dolphins it was a very close game, a close pick here. He was grabbing both sheets, but he ended up pulling the Dolphins to his mouth. He did drool on both of them. Kind of indicates how he feels about both teams, Dolphins and Bills. He did the same thing with the Cowboys.
Cute,
I know, he is cute. He did the same thing with the Cowboys and the Chargers. He did pick the Cowboys at the end of the day to win the game.
Now, if he drools on both sheets, does that mean that's a tie?
No, if he drools on both of them, means he's disgusted by both teams, and whatever one he picks up, he's like, I'll pick this one. He just didn't care he didn't like what the lineup was tonight.
I was thinking maybe he's thinking of some like next level shit. I'm gonna pick a tie here. I'm not gonna pick a team.
Now, Burge, you said that Dallas is going to cover. Are you taking them to also win outright?
I am going to take them to win outright. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow, that's gonna be a fun game, man. That's like one of the games that I got like highlighted on my schedule. I definitely want to watch that.
Should be a lot of offense in that game.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think the over is alive.
When you said that, I was like, "You feeling froggy?" I'm like, I would be going for that if I was a gambling man. If I was a degenerate, I would be going.
Yeah. For that. Raven's degenerate gang.
Degenerate Puma.
Degenerate Puma. That's my new nickname on the pod. Love it.
All right, last game that we're going to pick, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs at 1-0, coming off of a massive thriller victory as well. Great game against the Cleveland Browns. Final score was 33-29, taking on the Baltimore Ravens at 0-1. We kind of discussed them in the first block. But, Puma, who you got winning this game, man?
I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just, we talked about it at the top of the segment here, or the top of the show, I should say, 7 years ago after the autopsy of the Pats. But in reality, and in all seriousness here, I'm going to go with the Chiefs only because, again, Lamar has not showed us throwing the football. We know that at some point the Ravens are going to be down in this game, and I have zero confidence in them. The Baltimore Ravens to throw themselves back into a game. Until I see it, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs out of this matchup. Now, from a betting perspective, I would probably go with the Ravens to cover the spread, only because the Chiefs are like 1-9 against the spread the last 10 games. I'm trying to pull up the line here. The spread in this game. Jesus, I just had it. It is 3.5. I think the Ravens cover it. I think it's going to be close. But I mean, we saw it. The Browns, they came out firing on all cylinders. I thought that Cleveland was going to win outright on the last episode of the podcast, and up until after halftime in the fourth quarter, it looked pretty good at that point. But Mahomes did Mahomes things. He threw a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill to take the go-ahead touchdown. I think he got hit as he was throwing the football, and just in Mahomesian ways, the ball finds its way to Tyreek Hill, and there's nothing else you could do as a defender. You did your job. It is what it is, and sometimes the chips just fall where they may. And I'm going to go with Kansas City going into be more, in the words of Mark Ingram. They're going to go outside the bank and come see me, and they're going to take Baltimore Ravens as lunch. But I think Baltimore covers the game.
Yeah,
covers the spread.
Do you guys by any chance know if Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark are going to be available for this game on Sunday?
I think Matthew is trending toward playing. Mm-hmm. I know he was active off the COVID list, but he didn't really have a lot of practice time to be efficient in the game against the Browns. I think he's got a good shot at playing this week. Frank Clark, on the other hand, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs really missed Frank Clark on Sunday because, that first half, the Cleveland Browns were pushing the Kansas City Chiefs around, and they had that 22-10 lead, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open in the third quarter, and that's the beauty of the Chiefs, man, and Patrick Mahomes. You can't give these guys an inch. You've got to have your foot on their neck for 4 quarters straight, and that's the only way you can win the game. And I feel kind of bad for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I feel like this is going to be a blowout. The fact it's only at 3.5 points is a spread. I would have thought this would have been like a 7, maybe 8 point spread. But listen, on top of that, the fact that the Ravens are missing Marcus Peters, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a massive day, and whoever has him in fantasy, start him.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes. The guy continues to, just beat all odds and win games. I was I wasn't watching the Cleveland game, but I was following it, and they were up pretty big in that game, and Mahomes did Mahomes things and came back. It's hard for me to pick against the guy, especially after watching, Lamar Jackson fumble the game away against, the Las Vegas Raiders this week. For me, I am going to take the Chiefs to win this game outright and cover the 3.5 points. I think that, it'll be a touchdown game down there in Baltimore. Baltimore will be looking at an 0-2 season going into this if they do end up losing here. So it's obviously a big game for them, but I still like Kansas City to win here. In this game here, my little guy Parker decided to pick the Baltimore Ravens for some reason. He's picked the Ravens 2 weeks in a row. I may have to do a little bit more educating with him to get him off this Ravens train, because we all know as Patriots fans we don't like the Ravens. So I gotta do a little bit of correcting there.
What are you teaching this kid, bro? Come on.
No, he just knows that the Kansas City Chiefs suck at covering the spread. You're teaching the kid right. He's listening to Degenerate Puma, all right?
Hey, I hope he's better than me. I hope he's better than me. I'll say that.
Speaking of degenerates, let's launch our new segment, Best Bets with the Puma, where he will try to help you win some money. So, Puma, who do you like this week?
All right, so who do I like this week? So this section of the podcast is brought to you by the official sportsbook of the Pro Football Radio podcast, DraftKings Sportsbook, which, by the way, they finally caught up with the times. They now offer same-game parlays. You can, for example, the Washington football team versus New York Giants, you can bet the spread or you can bet the over in this game, same-game parlay. You can take Washington to win outright, maybe the over. You can do all those things with player props. It's about time they caught up with the times, because I was like, I might be going to FanDuel. If they don't do the same game parlay, I might jump ship. DraftKings heard the critics. They wanted the same game parlay, and they finally caught up to it. But Brando,
that is music to my ear, because I'm all about that parlay.
Parlays for life, baby.
P4L. Parlays for life.
Parlays for life, baby. So, some of my best bets, Degenerate Puma here. I'm taking, like I said at the top of the pod, I'm taking Washington laying the 3. This is a get-right game. I think they're going to cover those 3 points easily. The Houston Texans, depending on what book you're looking at, it's been fluctuating around. Houston Texans 12 to 12.5 point underdogs to the Cleveland Browns. I like Houston covering the 12 to 12.5. It's a cagey veteran team. I know that they played Jacksonville last week, but they're going against a light years better football team. But we can all agree, looking at the roster here, these are cagey veterans. For the Houston Texans, I think they're going to cover the 12.5 easily. Joe Burrow, a.k.a. Joey, covers. They're going to be they're 2.5 to 3 point dogs against the Chicago Bears on the road. I think they're going to be in Soldier Field. Joe Burrow is 7-1-1 against the spread when he throws for more than 30 attempts or so. I think Cincinnati covers this. And honestly, looking at the Bears, I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati wins outright and goes 2-0 in the AFC North here. Hot take right there. The Denver Broncos, they are 6-point favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going with Denver to cover the 6-point spread. Wow. Teddy Bridgewater, also known as Teddy Covers, his career in the NFL, 36-14 against the spread, 22-3 on the road. So give me Denver covering the 6 points. Also, the over-under in the Minnesota-Arizona game, I like it. I like the over in this game. It's 51 points right now. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it went a tick higher, but last I saw it was at 51. I like the over in this game. Both, the defensive line for the Cardinals are great. The secondary, and I like Justin Jefferson to maybe find the end zone a couple of times. So give me the over in this game. I think it's going to be a shootout. So those are my best bets. Washington, -3. Houston covering the 12.5 points that they're getting from the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati covering the 2.5 to 3 points that they're getting from the Chicago Bears. Denver covering the 6 points that they're laying against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the over-under in the Minnesota-Arizona game. And my leg of the Take It to the Bank parlay is Houston plus 12 or 12.5, depending on what book you get. What are you guys thinking for your Take It to the Bank parlays?
Puma, those are some amazing takes, man. Like, my God,
Amen.
You yourself are lifting half of America out of poverty with these takes, all right? People are going to listen to
poverty.
these. People are going to listen to this segment. They're going to take all the money they have, put on these bets, and they're going to become rich. And you, sir, are doing a better job than Biden himself, all right? So congratulations.
Wow. There's your stimulus check brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook.
For my tickets to the bank, man, listen, I am high on the Patriots this week. Like I said, we've talked about this already, so I'm not going to rehash all of it. But the Patriots are going to get right. They're going to come out in East Rutherford and just absolutely steamroll the Jets. I like what I saw out of Mac Jones. The spread is 5.5 at the moment, and the Patriots being the favorite. I would smash Patriots 5.5, man. They're going to win by at least double digits. So, Patriots, let's go.
Yeah, so my leg of the Take It to the Bank parlay here is going to be the Cowboys +3. I really like what I saw out of the Cowboys offense against what was billed to be a very strong Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense last week. So I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to put up a bunch of points here. And I just like the Cowboys to hit that +3 threshold, win the game outright, and win by more than 3.
Okay. And I know Puma got some love here, but we did not forget about you, Burge, because we're talking about some fantasy pullers with the Burge himself. So, Burge, let's start off with this question. Raheem Mostert, I started him last week, and he got hurt. So who should I be targeting in his replacement?
Elijah Mitchell. Dude came in, had a great day off the bench there as the number 2 starting the game, beat out Trey Sermon, the highly touted fantasy rookie there in San Francisco. Came out, rushed for over 100 yards. You should be smashing the waiver wire for Elijah Mitchell in this situation here. He came in, obviously the 49ers are a run-heavy team, so I would be going to every waiver wire in every one of your leagues and adding him. Just a couple more of my top ads from the waiver wire after week 1. Tim Patrick with the Denver Broncos would be a great pickup, considering the injury that Jerry Jeudy suffered early in the game on Sunday. Seems like he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So I would go for him. If KJ Hamler is available on your waiver wire, go after him as well. Just a couple other players that I would be looking for on the waiver wire. in your leagues would be look at the Arizona Cardinals offense. Rondell Moore and Christian Kirk. If either of them are available in your leagues, pick them up. They both were very involved with Arizona's offense in their route of Tennessee on Sunday. So I would be definitely targeting both of them. And then, a guy that I've been big on, all offseason, Brian Edwards with the Las Vegas
Talk about
Raiders.
it!
I know he was not targeted early in this game, or actually pretty much the entire game.
The entire game.
Talk about regulation with the Raiders there, but he came in and with a minute left to the end of overtime, 4 receptions for 81 yards. It came very close to winning that game within a yard. Actually, I'd call it inches of winning that game for the Raiders. He's a guy that I'm high on to be in. To come out and have a really good fantasy year, catch some balls. I think they're going to involve him more after this game. So those are just some guys, off the waiver wire. If they're available, go pick them up.
All right. Now, Burge, before we move off the segment here, if somebody like myself has Jacoby Myers, and let's say KJ Hamler is on the waiver wire, are you going to look at me or managers that have Jacoby Myers funny if we decide to drop Myers to take a flyer on KJ Hamler?
No, I'm not going to look at you funny at all. KJ Hamler, that he has, was based out of that last year's draft. He was one of the receivers, who was talked about a lot. Obviously, he fell in the draft last year because of how much talent was available at the wide receiver position in last year's draft. Denver has, Denver loves him there, at that wide receiver position, especially with Jerry Jeudy going out. You have Cortland Sutton there coming off the injury from last year. And then you have a bunch of guys fighting for that position. I would not look at you funny at all. PPR, I may think that, I may think about it a little more just because of what Jacoby Myers is. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns for the Patriots, but he's going to fill that role where he's going to be kind of a safety blanket, so to speak, where he's going to get a lot of receptions. But no, with KJ Hamler, especially with the opportunity that presents itself now in Denver, I think that would be a wise move.
All right.
I got another question for you, Mr. Fantasy Expert. I have Damien Harris. I started him last week. I'm going to start him next week as well. Any concern there that after the fumble that Bill Belford might punish him for Bill Belford's mistake? Should I keep him in the lineup, or will there be some sort of repercussion there?
No, you keep him in the lineup there. With he's the guy in Bella Goat's offense, and he's going to be the guy to carry the ball. They're still going to be a run-heavy team, and Bella Goat is definitely going to continue to go to him. He's a veteran back in that offense that is the ball carrier. We all know James White is the true veteran there, but he's not a traditional run between the tackles guy. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. Bella Goat going away from him at all. In between the tackles, first, second down, he's the guy there. They made that commitment when they traded Sony Michel. So, I would definitely continue to ride him. At least at this point, I think Bella Goat is going to continue to pound the rock with Damien Harris.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to run that by you, just so that there's nothing crazy on Sunday. You never know. Belcher could come out and be like, "You ain't playing." You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you know what? You used his real name, so I consider that segment a win there.
Oh,
so.
Damn, that was a slip up on my part. Damn it. Stupid Jay Cheema. It's Bella Fraud.
Bella Goat.
Oh, man.
Yeah, wow. That's all I got for fantasy.
All right, well, we're 88 minutes in. I think it's probably a good time to plug it up and call it a day.
All right, plugging it up. So, this episode of the Pro Football Radio Podcast and previous episodes of the pod can be found on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Google Podcast, whatever the hell it is now, YouTube. Jay, the maestro, the captain of the ship that drives this boat, He's also, splicing up some of the portions of the pod. So you'll find maybe our autopsy of the New England Patriots in a separate section. You'll get the Chargers Cowboys game in a separate section. You'll get Bullets with Burge, Degenerate Brando Puma bets. You'll get all that on your YouTube feed. Like, subscribe. Be sure to download the podcast. And if I didn't say this already, you can find us on Apple Podcasts as well, too. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us with the algorithm, with the people out in Palo Alto filtering things. Helps us with exposure. 5-star review would be greatly appreciated. Social media platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google. Jesus Christ. Social media-wise, I need to go to sleep. Facebook and Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast. Twitter at PFR Podcast. I'm on the Twitter machine, Brando_Puma. Jay Cheema is at Jay Cheema. Eric Burgess, our senior contributor, senior analyst, is on the Twitter machine at Burge the goalie. Definitely be sure to check him out on Sundays after a Patriots game or a Patriots loss, and he's going off the deep end. Definitely a fun time. Get your popcorn ready, ladies and gentlemen. And we kind of have some breaking news a little bit, not in the NFL sense of things, but Burge, you want to talk about the little blog spot that we're going to be starting to develop in a little bit?
Yeah, so we're starting to work out a little website here. Just starting to. It's in the early stages at this point, and over the next month or so, hopefully, we're going to start seeing some write-ups about the games. You will expand a little bit on what we talk about on the podcast here. Obviously we'll have our takes on recording here with the podcast, but we'll break down a little bit more in depth. So we're not talking your ear off for an hour and a half every week. It's a work in progress. Hopefully we'll be up and running soon.
But huge leap forward considering that we started this podcast from a dining room table to now we have this. We got our boy Burge, the senior contributor, our favorite guy that we rag on about Belichick, but couldn't be happier to have him on board the pod. And now we're going to be having this blog spot going here. We're making strides for three guys that just love to talk bullshit and talk football. We are making huge gains in the grand scheme of things. So I am stoked.
George, I gotta ask before we go, and you kind of like walk down this road and then walk it back. Let's say it's a 10-point win by the Jets. Will you say Bella fraud on Monday or Tuesday?
No.
20 points.
Nope.
30 points.
No.
So, boy, we went from if they lose to the Jets, it's Bella fraud to
no, I never said that.
It's so Bella.
Listen. I have been consistent with this from day one.
Fair enough.
2022 is the year for Belichick to make or break his job. 2022 is the year. I will be on board with criticizing everything with the Patriots organization from that point. If they get blown out by the Jets on Sunday, I will be right there, but I'm not going to write the obituary.
That is a man. That is a man with conviction.
I've been consistent from day one. I
just hope to find somebody that loves me like you love Belichick. I mean, that would be what everybody dreams about, right?
Hey, I wish my fiance loved me like you love Tom Brady. So
wow. Right and on that note,
all right, let's
Freddie Soliotis, you're fired.
As always, it's so much fun, fellas. We'll talk to you next week.
Via con Dios.